Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're looking at a massive shift that is basically fundamentally changing the ground beneath our feet. We're calling it the maker's evolution. We're going to explore how AI is just rapidly reshaping how we build our modern world. Everything from the microscopic hardware powering our cell networks to the software running on our screens right now. So, let's take an optimistic, data-driven look at the future of building. So let's just address the elephant in the room right off the bat, shall we? Is AI replacing human builders, or is it supercharging them? It's honestly so easy to get caught up in the fear that AI is just going to take over all engineering and coding. But the latest research, it tells a completely different and actually super inspiring story. We aren't being replaced, we're literally being handed the ultimate power tool.
Because, look, for decades, pushing the boundaries of tech meant painstakingly handcrafting designs. It was this artisanal process that cost years and millions of dollars per project. But now, we're entering an era where AI-generated designs take minutes. We're collapsing entire years of development into, well, the time it takes to brew a cup of coffee. And to really understand how wild this paradigm shift is, let's look at one of the hardest engineering challenges on the planet.
Let's actually talk about hardware for a second, specifically RFICs. You can think of these as the complex plumbing that routes electromagnetic energy in wireless tech. It's what powers things like AirTags and 5G. Now, designing them has historically been kind of a dark art, mostly because matching that energy flow is like trying to connect a high-pressure fire hose to a narrow garden hose without spilling a single drop. But researchers at Princeton asked a really interesting question. What if we use inverse design? Instead of human tweaking, what if we just tell an AI the exact physical goal we want and let it work backwards?
And here's the wild process they came up with. First, they set the exact physical specifications they want to hit. Second, they unleash a specialized AI emulator that navigates the design space and predicts electromagnetic behavior in milliseconds. And finally, they use diffusion models. Yes, the exact same AI tech that generates images from text, but instead of asking for a picture of a cat, they ask for a highly efficient chip layout. The results look completely alien. They almost look like arbitrary QR codes, but they drastically outperform our traditional human templates.
Now, hearing all that, you might be thinking, well, if AI can design hardware in minutes and write software instantaneously, human engineers must be obsolete, right? Well, hold on, because you have to consider this massive number, 55%. According to a Signal Fire report looking at 2025 data, 55% of all new hires at major tech giants were engineers. And get this, despite total tech hiring dropping, startups actually hired 7% more engineers. So what exactly is going on here? That actually brings us to a really fascinating economic concept known as the Jevons paradox. It basically states that when a resource becomes way more efficient to use, the overall demand for it actually goes up. Because these agentic AI coding tools have made engineers so wildly productive, they're capable of so much more now. The AI writes all the tedious code, freeing the human up to generate the next big idea. We aren't running out of work at all. We're just building bigger and building faster. So with the demand for human ingenuity basically skyrocketing, we really have to prepare the next generation for this boom. Microsoft totally recognizes this massive shift, and they're actually rolling out these powerful AI tools for free, right into Microsoft 365 education. We're talking things like Copilot notebooks for research and automated unit plans for teachers. And by providing these natively, schools are putting essential safety guardrails in place, making sure students actually receive formal training on how to partner with AI.
And that leads to a pretty profound realization. These native education tools, they're quietly training an entirely new generation for a completely different kind of software creation. We're rapidly moving from traditional hard coding to what's being called vibe coding. By democratizing these tools in the classroom, we're basically teaching students to converse with machines, to explain their intent, and to intuitively guide AI using just natural language.
And honestly, this completely tosses out traditional computing rules. I mean, think about it. In traditional software, humans write strict lines of code to render a static interface. But in experimental concepts like VibeOS, there's literally no underlying code. If you ask it for a calculator, the AI simply hallucinates the visual interface, monitors exactly where you click, and just guesses the math based on what a calculator should do. You can even ask for totally fictional software, and the AI will draw and simulate it live on the spot. It's mind-bending.
But okay, let's be real. With any massive leap like this, you're going to face some really complex development challenges. The dark side of vibe coding is vibeware, which is this AI-generated malware that constantly mutates to evade standard antivirus software. But the solution here isn't to panic. As cybersecurity expert Prince Chatta points out, defenders are now going fully behavioral and using AI themselves to catch this stuff.
The exact same generative AI tools that are powering the attacks are being deployed right back to spot malicious behavior instantly. It's making our digital immune systems way more adaptive than they've ever been.
So, we've seen how AI can design literally impossible hardware in minutes, how it's making our engineers busier than ever, and how it's bringing vibe coding right to the masses. The barrier to entry for building whatever you dream up has absolutely never been lower. So, I want to leave you with this one thought. In a world where you don't even need to write the code to build the software, what will you vibe code first? The future really belongs to the imaginative. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep building.